Yeah, yeah, we are live. Okay, great, perfect. Thanks. Hello, hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and good evening. I think we have folks from all across the globe, and I know for most of you it's morning or evening or afternoon. And before I get started, we are very super excited to have our first session with Admond. And before I introduce him, I would like to welcome all of you officially for the DeFi Data Science Bootcamp that we are conducting with the help of expert data scientists from the community. And to be honest, in the last couple of days, we were super pumped up and also pleased to see the brilliant start that we had with the pre-work. I think the absolute beginners are doing an amazing job with the entire scheme of things. They're very motivated and pumped up and trying to be proactive in the entire learning process. And now let me introduce you all to Admond. I'm pretty sure he's a very known name by now for all of you. He done multiple roles. He's a physicist, he's a writer, consultant. He's also a data scientist. Well, I can even call him a marketer, great marketer rather. And he has an inspiring story to tell us. Yes, his journey from a physicist to a data scientist. And also he'll brief us about data science and its applications. And before we get started, there are some ground rules for attendees who are on Zoom meeting. Please keep your mic and camera off, just in case if it is unmuted, please kindly keep it off. And we'll be taking Q&As from YouTube as well as Zoom, and also from the form responses that we received on Google. Okay. And now I'll leave the stage to Admond. Please go ahead and share your screen, and yeah. It's all
Great.
yours.
Thanks, Chanuya. Thanks for the invite. So excited to be here. Can you guys hear me? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. So excited to be here today, and I think today is the first session for the 5-week data science bootcamp, and I hope this session will really serve as the solid foundation for all of you here to get started throughout the 5-week bootcamp, and I hope you enjoy the ride. So let me get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. Oh, Chanuya, can you name me as a host? I can't seem to share my screen. Chanuya, can you hear me?
Yeah, Admond, cool. I gave you the host access. Yeah.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Admond, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just quickly run this through. Okay. Oops. Sorry, let me share it again.
Admond, one quick thing, can you admit all so that the rest of the participants who are in the invite? Yeah, maybe.
Admit or
yeah, wait. Yeah. Just click on participants and there is an admit. Yeah. Yeah. I think that should be good enough. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thanks. Please get started. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So hi everyone, welcome. Today, the first session will be more on the very generic introduction to data science. If you are an aspiring data scientist, or maybe you are someone who is looking to go into this field but wondering what this field exactly looks like, in the current industry, I hope today the first session will give you a very good idea, a very broad picture of how this field looks like and how you can eventually get into this field. So a little bit introduction about me, about my background. My name is Admond, and before that, a few years back, I was actually a physics student back in NTU in Singapore, and currently I'm a data scientist working at Micron for almost 1.5 years or 2 years. So, and this is where I am now. And yep, currently I am a data science writer, as mentioned by Chanukya. I also write data science articles for different publications, namely Medium, because this is something that I'm passionate about. I love to share and I love to write about my experience, my knowledge on it, or even my mistakes, to hope to share with the public and inspire them at the same time. Also, I'm doing data science consulting for other companies in the digital marketing space. So these are some of the things that I have been helping some of my clients in the past. And at the same time, I'm also a speaker, or what I call myself as a data science communicator, because I love to share ideas with other people in terms of public speaking and hope to inspire, motivate them, to get them started, etc., to go into data science field. And this is what I have been doing. So maybe the top question that you have in mind is that why am I sharing with you guys all of the things that I'm doing, that I'm currently doing in the past, right? Maybe you're asking, why do I share with all this achievement? Do I want to brag about my achievement, things like that? No, I think the main objective here is really to show you exactly that it is absolutely possible to go into data science even without any computer science background. Remember that I was from a physics background and I had no idea about what data science looked like back then, I think 3 years back. But eventually, through hard work, through some networking, and through some online learning, some project-based learning and internship, I managed to go into this field. And I hope to share my journey with you today to hopefully inspire you. It doesn't really matter where you are now. Maybe you are in a mid-career position. Maybe you are a student graduating soon in a few months. It doesn't matter what course that you study or what jobs that you work at right now. The important thing is you must have the passion to really start working through the hard way to go into this field. As long as you have the passion, you have the grit. And this is what I'm going to show you what you can do, right? And today, this is what we're going to cover. First of all, I'm going to share with you what exactly is data science, as I mentioned just now, a very broad picture of what data science looks like, or maybe the origin of data science, where did it come from, all these things to you in this session today. And secondly, I'm going to share with you a bit of my journey from physics into data science. I think maybe some of you guys here are from academia background, or maybe even in physics course. And if you're interested in learning more about how I transfer or transition from the academia world into data science, I hope the session today will be highly beneficial to you. And today I'm going to give you 2 bonuses, right? And the third one would be, I want to share with you what exactly I do as a data scientist, maybe at my job, maybe at my consulting project. In general, what do I exactly do as a data scientist? What is the workflow? How does the workflow look like? And how it works hand in hand with different stakeholders. And finally, I'm going to share with you the data science workflow that I personally use, and also a lot of companies out there are using as a framework on their data science workflow. So let's get started. So exactly what is data science? You see, now we have been hearing the term, the hype, data scientist is the sexiest job of the 21st century. I believe you have been seeing this term all around the world. Just search online, what is data science, and you have heard big data and all this hype, all these different terms, or even a very famous competition called AlphaGo, where a bot, an AI bot in the chess competition, won a very famous Korean pro player in the chess using the AlphaGo model. And this really the beginning of the AI and deep learning models. Also, maybe some of you have heard of the OpenAI, which is part of the companies of Elon Musk, whereby this OpenAI Dota 2 mods defeated a team of professional former pro players in Dota 2. So you see, all of us have been hearing all of this hype. Data science is really just about AI and deep learning, and that's it. But really, data science is much more than AI and deep learning. And this is what I'm going to share with you and hopefully debunk some of the myths that we have been hearing out there to give you an idea, a big picture of what exactly data science is. And here I'm going to show you a 5-minute video, first 5 minutes of the video to really give an idea to explain what data science is and what is the job as a data scientist in general, right? So this guy's name here is called Jomatek. You can just Google search it. go to his YouTube channel. He has amazing content in data science, or even some interview tips. So go search it out. Let me open this. And wait, let me get this done here. I'm gonna share.
About making data science is not about making complicated models. It's not about making awesome visualizations, and it's not about writing code. Data science.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it is all red actually. Yeah.
Using data to create as much impact.
Wait, let me unshare.
Yeah.
Data science is not about making complicated models. It's not about making awesome visualizations, and it's not about writing code. Data science is about using data to create as much impact as possible for your company. Now, impact can be in the form of multiple things. It could be in the form of insights, in the form of data products, or in the form of product recommendations for a company. Now, to do those things, then you need tools like making complicated models or data visualizations or writing code. But essentially, as a data scientist, your job is to solve real company problems using data. And what kind of tools you use, we don't care. Now, there's a lot of misconception about data science, especially on YouTube. And I think the reason for this is because there's a huge misalignment between what's popular to talk about and what's needed in the industry. So because of that, I want to make things clear. I am a data scientist working for a GAFA company, and those companies really emphasize on using data to improve their products. So this is my take on what is data science. Before data science, we popularized the term data mining in an article called From Data Mining to Knowledge Discovery in Databases in 1996, in which it referred to the overall process of discovering useful information from data. In 2001, William S. Cleveland wanted to bring data mining to another level. He did that by combining computer science with data mining. Basically, he made statistics a lot more technical, which he believed will expand the possibilities of data mining and produce a powerful force for innovation. Now you can take advantage of compute power for statistics, and he called this combo data science. Around this time, this is also when Web 2.0 emerged, where websites are no longer just a digital pamphlet, but a medium for a shared experience amongst millions and millions of users. These are websites like MySpace in 2003, Facebook in 2004, and YouTube in 2005. We can now interact with these websites, meaning we can contribute, post, comment, like, upload, share, leaving our footprint in the digital landscape we call internet, and help create and shape the ecosystem we now know and love today. And guess what? That's a lot of data. So much data it became too much to handle using traditional technologies. So we call this big data. That opened a world of possibilities in finding insights using data, but it also meant that the simplest questions required sophisticated data infrastructure just to support the handling of the data. We needed parallel computing technology like MapReduce, Hadoop, and Spark. So the rise of big data in 2010 sparked the rise of data science to support the needs of the businesses to draw insights from their massive unstructured data sets. So then the Journal of Data Science described data science as almost everything that has something to do with data, collecting, analyzing, modeling. Yet the most important part is its applications, all sorts of application. Yes, all sorts of applications, like machine learning. So in 2010, with the new abundance of data, it made it possible to train machines with a data-driven approach rather than a knowledge-driven approach. All the theoretical papers about recurring neural networks, support vector machines became feasible, something that can change the way we live and how we experience things in the world. Deep learning is no longer an academic concept in these thesis papers. It became a tangible, useful class of machine learning that would affect our everyday lives. So machine learning and AI dominated the media, overshadowing every other aspect of data science, like exploratory analysis, experimentation, and skills we traditionally called business intelligence. So now the general public think of data science as researchers focused on machine learning and AI. but the industry is hiring data scientists as analysts, so there's a misalignment there. The reason for the misalignment is that yes, most of these data scientists can probably work on more technical problems, but big companies like Google, Facebook, Netflix have so many low-hanging fruits to improve their products that they don't require any advanced machine learning or statistical knowledge to find these impacts in their analysis. Being a good data scientist isn't about how advanced your models are. It's about how much impact you can have with your work. You're not a data cruncher. You're a problem solver. You're a strategist. Companies will give you the most ambiguous and hard problems, and we expect you to guide the company to the right direction. Okay, now,
All right, so this is the first 5 minutes of the video. I hope by now you have already understood or gained a bit insights of what exactly data science is in general, instead of just AI and deep learning or machine learning. But in fact, it is much more than that. It is about solving problems using data in a way, right? So to sum this up, essentially data science is actually a combination of 3 elements here. So first of all is a computer science. But here, you don't need to really have a background in computer science itself, right? You can be from any other industries or any other courses itself, but you must have the programming skills. And this is where the computer science comes in. Second part would be the math and the statistics parts. Imagine you are building a model, but you need to somehow explain your model to your bosses, your stakeholders. And this is where your mathematical and statistical skills come into play to show the p-value, hypothesis testing, or some A/B tests, using some of this knowledge. And finally, which I think is one of the most important elements here, is the domain knowledge. Of course, it can be any domain knowledge, depends on whatever industry that you are in. But the core message here is that you need to have a strong knowledge, a strong domain business knowledge where you understand the meaning behind the data that you are looking into, so that you know how exactly it works in the industry and how your model works, whether it makes sense or not. All these things are working hand in hand. Computer science, math, statistics, and domain expertise, all these are working together to really give us what we call data science today. And how exactly data science is being used? In summary, what are the applications, right, of some of the data science is being used in our society nowadays? But let me tell you, a lot of applications are being applied in our day-to-day life. Maybe we are not even aware of this. And today I'm going to show you just part of the applications that I think all of us are very familiar of, but maybe we are not aware of the application behind. The first one, Grab or Uber. Essentially, this is the 21st century transportation mode that we have been using to travel from point A to point B. But maybe some of us are not aware of the models running behind, the machine learning model behind the application, where the model helps us to look for the best driver, to look for the shortest distance, from point A to point B. And all these are being done behind the scene, which all of us might not be even aware of at the same time. Or maybe a lot of us have been using Instagram. You scroll one profile or one photo to another, but sometimes you see some ads, some sponsor posts, and all these ads are targeting to the targeted audience, which is you, at the right time, at the right place. So this is all being done by the machine learning models behind the scene, which some of us are not even aware of at the first place. Or maybe during this COVID-19 period, all of us are sitting at home, watching Netflix, watching this and watching that. Or maybe you see a lot of recommendations done by Netflix to show you what are the movies, the series that you are interested in. And all these recommendations are done, again, behind the scene using some very sophisticated machine learning models. Finally, here, this is the picture taken a very long time ago. And if you just go to Facebook, look for any of your picture, and just go to any of the face that you see, maybe you will see this tag here. Do you want to tag yourself, yes or no? How does Facebook know whether this face looks like you or not? And this is what we call the facial recognition. And this is done by our deep learning models behind the scene as well. And all these amazing applications happening in our day-to-day life, and all these are very amazing because it really gives us convenience and really bring a lot of joy and applications in our daily life, and all these are being done in data science work. Now, after we have learned what data science is in general and some of its applications in our day-to-day life, I want to share a bit of my journey from physics into data science and some of the struggles along the way, which I believe it resonates with a lot of you out there, especially if you are looking for a job in data science space, right? So let me get it started. But before that, maybe there are some questions. I think this is one of the common questions that I receive throughout my career. Why not physics, Admond? Why not physics? Why data science? Right? You can choose any of the industry, any of your career options, but why? Why data science? The whole story really it began 2 years back when I was having my overseas internship at CERN, which is based in Switzerland, back on June 2017. Now, for those who may not know what CERN is a Large Hadron Collider. It's the world's largest and highest energy particle accelerator with the circumference of about, I think, 27 kilometers here. But essentially what this is it is a particle collider. It just shoots protons along the way and just collide them together and study the particles physics behind to really understand the universe in a way. So this is where I started my journey, a 2 months internship, and this is where I found my passion here. Now, during this internship, I joined this program as a summer student with all the students around the world for this 2 months program. And I got to meet a lot of friends, from different countries. It was amazing, very awesome. I performed some particles event reconstruction using a machine learning technique called boosted decision tree, or maybe XGBoost, some of you may have known. But back then, I didn't know exactly what decision tree means, and it got me quite fascinated at the first place. And I just wanted to find out more, to understand more about this field. And luckily, throughout this program, I got to attend some of the workshops. And in fact, this was the first machine learning workshop that I attended for the first time ever. And since then, I got very, very interested in machine learning. And that's when I decided to find out more when I returned back to Singapore for my studies. And throughout the program, it was joy. It was very amazing, awesome experience. I traveled to different places. I visited a lot of the factories, the facilities at CERN, how they run the models, how they run the collider, and travel around the places with my friends. And it was pure joy. And I learned tons of it throughout this experience. And this is where I found my passion, right? Because back then I didn't really understand what data science is, because 2 or 3 years back, data science wasn't quite popular yet. It was just getting traction. And there was a time when I first got to know this field. It was very young and nobody told me anything about data science. And I got to find out more about myself. So after this internship ended, after 2 months, I returned to Singapore to continue my studies, right, in my university at NTU. And once I returned back, I decided to find out more, to understand more about this field. Why are people so excited about this field, and why is there such a hype? Like, people have been talking about data science, AI, and deep learning, and I knew nothing about it. So I got to find out more. And this is when I started learning more by joining the first competition, Tableau competition. It's a very short competition. I just joined it, to build my data visualization skills. And the whole goal here is to really get in touch, or really to get my hands dirty with the data out there to build my skills or portfolio. And once the competition ended, meantime, I was very lucky. I got referred to SMRT, or is one of the largest mobility or transportation models being used in Singapore. And I joined this as a part-time data analytics intern for a few months. And this was the time where I first, get familiar with Python, started doing some data analytics project by, studying the mobility pattern and the journey analytics essentially. And this is when I got my hands dirty and getting more and more project on hand to get myself familiar in a way. Now, in December 2017, I managed to squeeze all my courses in one semester, and I managed to graduate early, 1 semester early. And a lot of people ask me the same questions, right? Why do I join an internship, a full-time internship right after I graduated? I think this was one of the most commonly asked questions that I received from my friends and family. Because the reason why I decided to join a full-time internship right after I graduated, because I wanted to obtain more technical exposure and to experience the full cycle of data science flow from the scratch. Because I still felt like I didn't get much experience. I haven't built my portfolio enough yet to find or land a full-time job as a data scientist. So this was when I started, learning more about data science. And the company itself, Quantum Inventions, is a company that provides mobility intelligence to consumers, corporations, or other companies using its own mobility applications. So my task back then was to really develop LSTM model, long short-term memory model, is a time series model, deep learning model, by the way. My task was to predict the multi-step travel time prediction with higher accuracy, right? So I developed a few models, and finally, this was the best model that I managed to build, and also to improve the accuracy upon on our existing model run by the company. And guess what? So this internship really reaffirmed my passion in data science, and this is where everything got consolidated in a way, and this is where I confirmed that this is where my passion is, and this is what I wanted to go as my long-term career, right? Well, during my internship at Quantum Inventions, of course I did a few things as well. I joined a lot of online courses, which I believe a lot of you have been doing this. Coursera, Andrew Ng, one of the famous professors out there in deep learning. I joined Udemy or even lynda.com to study a lot of technical experience, programming skills, how to learn Python, how to use Python to build models, all this stuff. And other than this, I believe that online courses alone itself are not enough, because they only teach a very high level understanding on the implementation parts. But I wanted to find more about the foundation, right? The assumption behind the model. That's why I started reading some of the books out there. I think the first book that I started reading would be The Introduction to Statistical Learning. To me, this is a Bible, because this is what that got me started about all the machine learning stuff, and it helped me break it down, the so-called machine learning, into a very fundamental truth, which is essentially just calculus, right? So I think this book is very helpful, and I really strongly recommend you guys to grab this book. I think it's a free version out there for you to study what the model is and the assumption behind. And finally, this is also the period where I got active on social media platforms like LinkedIn, which I believe some of you have been seeing me around, and also Medium, where I started writing my data science articles. Back then, I was hungry, right? Because I was hungry for knowledge. I just kept learning from different resources. I even went to some other hackathons, some of the external meetups out there, to just meet up people, in this space, to learn from them, to see what are the weaknesses that I have, and to see what are the latest updates in data science. What's going on, right? What's going on exactly in the world today in terms of the data science space? So this is how I got started once I started doing my full-time internship. I learned from online courses, from books, from social media itself, which was very helpful to me. And after that, on March 2018, I joined my first so-called machine learning competition organized by Shopee. It's another one of the biggest e-commerce companies in Southeast Asia. And I joined their competition, the Kaggle competition, on the image recognition part or image classification part using CNN. And this is the first time where I started implementing the deep learning models with a lot of input data given by the competition's organizer. And this is also where I started learning all the transfer learning, the image preprocessing, all the dirty work behind the scene, which I never knew before until I joined the competition. So I strongly encourage you guys to join the real life competition out there to not just build your portfolio, but to really get your hands dirty by joining the competitions and to build the models and to see what you can improve on and to learn from others as well. Also, the next month, April 2018, I started writing, right, on Medium. I started documenting my journey, sharing my experience, and learn from others. Medium is the beginning of my so-called social media sharing and learning from other people. So this is where I started documenting my journey, my experience, just want to help out others by sharing my knowledge as well, and also to help and guide some of the aspiring data scientists who wants to go into the field but not sure how to do it. So this way I started, sharing my journey, the struggles that I had, and hopefully they can help some of you to land a job or maybe to find more information or resources in this field. But lastly, I just also want to improve my communication skills, because as a data scientist, we got to share our insights, our results to our stakeholders, right, from different departments. And the communication skills here, or what I call the storytelling skills, are very, very important in terms of writing or public speaking. That's why I learned both at the same time to really improve my skills in this space. Now, in June 2018, I got my first full-time job at Titansoft, and I was the research engineer in the machine learning space back then. And I built a so-called the advanced betting machine model using XGBoost, and all these are being done in Python. And essentially, what I was doing is to build a model that can self-learn, to learn the pattern from our players on our platform to improve the profit margin of the company. So this is essentially what I did. And after that, a few months later, I joined Micron, which is my current job, very obvious, as a data scientist. So in this current position that where I'm in now is I help drive smart manufacturing and AI effort or projects for the company. So we have different projects in our company itself, and we build a lot of different models or dashboard or analytics for different goals depending on what objectives are. And this is what I've been doing for about 1.5 years. And I'm so excited to be in this company because a lot of things are happening and the culture there is really fantastic. And I love to be here. So now, this is the very brief journey of my transition from academia, physics into data science. And if you want to learn more about how I go into this field really in depth, in details, you can always check out one of my articles on Medium. I did write about it in details. Feel free to check it out. Now, the third thing that I want to share with you today is what exactly that I do as a data scientist now. Not just at my current job, but maybe some of my other clients' projects, or maybe in general out there in the market. What do we do, right, as a data scientist? And this is the myth I believe all of us can resonate here. Essentially, what we actually do is, of course, we don't know everything. If you think data scientists know everything, then probably you are wrong, because a lot of time we Google lots. Our Googling skills are kind of, search for the keyword, go to Stack Overflow or whatever platform, Quora, just to look for answers and code, to look for, to really help us clarify, right? Because we can't really remember all the libraries out there, but we do know where to get the answer. And this is the very important thing to remember as a data scientist, that you have to be resourceful when it comes to looking for solution. You will encounter a lot of frustration along your journey, wondering where to get your answer. And this is where you have to know the right source to look for answer, or maybe to look for help, which I believe is very important. And just to share with you some of the tools that I'm using or have been using are, of course, Jupyter, Python. I think Python is one of the most popular language out there in the programming space. Also, when you deal with a lot of data, or maybe even big data, then you need to use Hadoop, right? Or maybe MongoDB for unstructured data. But if I want to highlight the two main skills that I would like you to learn and master, it would be Python or R and SQL. SQL is heavily being used in any of the industry or companies out there to query data from their own database. Of course, you can't use Python or Jupyter to get data. At the end of the day, you still have to learn the SQL language, the SQL, to get data directly from the database and do all the analytics or data cleaning or models building in Python, right? But before that, you really need to collect the data, and this is where you need to start using SQL for the data collection parts. But of course, there are still a lot of tools out there, tons of tools out there in the market. You can't learn all of them. So for beginners, I would suggest you to just start with Python or R, depends on your preference, and SQL, these two things, right? Python, SQL, these two things, before you go further to Hadoop, MongoDB, or a lot of different complicated stuff, right? Just get the foundations right, and you can just go ahead. Now, what do I do really at work? First, I need to understand the business problems. Without an actual business problem or without a problem statement, we can't even analyze any data, right? So this is the first step, also one of the most important steps when you go into a data science project. So we have to understand the business problems, understand what exactly that the company is solving, or maybe your boss is solving. You need to understand the core problem behind. What is the motivation behind? Do they want to save money, or do they want to earn money? Now, after you have understood the business problem, the next thing would be the data collection parts. Right? Again, just now we mentioned that SQL is heavily used in the industry, and it is true. If you go to any of the interviews out there for your interviews, data science interview or data analytics interview, chances are there is a SQL question for you to solve. Not 100%, but maybe 80 to 90%. So data collection part, you need to either use Python or SQL to get the data from the databases to do the data crunching and analytics. But you need to know where to get the data, right? So this is where being resourceful is very helpful, because you need to know which database to query, which tables to query, what data are you getting, how does the data integrity look like? Is the data clean enough? Is the data is what you are looking for? All these questions need to be answered, right, before we do the data collection part, to ensure that we are getting the right data from the right place. Now, the third one, once we have the data ready, now the third thing is to do the algorithm development. It could be data cleaning, could be data crunching, whatever terms that you may call it, right? There's so many terms flying around: data cleaning, data crunching, data munging. I'll just keep it simple: data cleaning. And sometimes you need to build a machine learning models, right? Could be a logistic regression model, could be a neural network. It depends on your project requirement. But a lot of times, chances are you just need to clean the model, clean the data, and to just do some very simple basic analytics or EDA, exploratory data analysis, to understand a bit about the data by visualizing it before even you build the model. Now imagine once you have built the model, the final thing to do is to share your insights, right? And this is where the importance of the communication skills, of the storytelling skills, which I emphasize a lot of times, that you need to really understand what exactly that your stakeholders are looking for, what exactly that you are solving, what are the questions that you are answering right now with your results. And if your results and your insights don't really answer the questions, then you don't really solve a problem. So the way how you present the results, the way how you analyze the data is very important, because at the end of the day, you have to interpret your model and to give some actionable insights to motivate people, to motivate stakeholders, to motivate your boss to take actions, right? There's a myth here. Imagine you have done analysis, but nobody takes action from your analysis. Did you make an analysis? Food for thoughts. Food for thoughts. Now, the final part here is the overall data science workflow that I hope to share with you. Of course, it's not the fixed workflow, but this is just one of the general workflow out there in the industry that a lot of companies or data scientists are using. This is the framework that was designed by Microsoft, or what they call as the team data science process. But regardless of the framework name itself, essentially, these are the steps that you need to do, right, for the data science workflow. It really gives us a life cycle to structure the projects, the development of our data science projects using this framework. And it's also an agile and kind of an iterative data science methodology to deliver the predictive analytics solution and new applications to your stakeholders. And of course, throughout this overall workflow, throughout this TDSP process, you will be able to improve the team collaboration and learning together because you will be working hand in hand with data engineers, with solution architects, with the product managers. We have a lot of team members. And this framework will hopefully help you to improve the collaboration workflow. And finally, this is the framework which I believe can help companies fully realize the low-hanging fruits or the benefits of their data science projects. So let's get started. Now, this is the picture, the very big picture of what this data science life cycle looks like. I'm going to go through one by one in a very intuitive workflow to really show you just a bit of it to give you a high-level understanding of the life cycle itself. Now, the first one would be to understand the business, right? We need to define the objective. What exactly is the problems that we are solving here? And we need to identify the data sources, right? Now, after we have done this phase, the second thing to do would be to get the data. Once you understand where to get the data, once you understand the business problem, what to solve, the next thing to do is to collect the data, to clean the data, do some EDA, right? Do some exploratory data analysis to explore the data in essence, to understand what this data looks like. Do we have any outliers? Do we have any missing data? If there is missing data, why is that so? Is that normal in our business context, right? These are some of the questions that we often need to ask when it comes to exploring the data itself. In summary, when it comes to data understanding, we have to be cautious. We have to be like a detective, right? We have to question the data until the data tells us everything. So the questions that we ask when we're exploring data is very crucial. We need to ask the right questions to get the right insights. Otherwise, it will be a waste of time. The third thing would be to the modeling parts. This is where building the machine learning models, this is where all the exciting part comes in. Once you get the data, you clean the data, you have the right form of data. The third thing to do is to build the model, to do some feature engineering, to get the right features to train your model, to do model training, to validate your model, and to test your model. Finally, you need to ask the question whether your model is suitable for production. Because imagine you build a very sophisticated model, a very deep learning model where it takes about 5 minutes to give you a prediction. When you go to a real life, let's say you are running an application and apps in your phone. If your model takes about 5 minutes to run a prediction, I don't think people will use it, right? So this is where the time where we need to question ourselves whether our model is robust enough, whether our model can do the computational in a very fast way, right? In a very fast fashion. Finally, it comes to the point where we need to deploy. Now we have done so many things. The final step is to deploy the model, put the model into production and to see whether it works and to get some feedback from our end users. So when we deploy the model, the end goal, where you deploy the model could be a website, it could be a dashboard, right? A Tableau, or maybe a Flask dashboard, or could be Django dashboard, depends. Or it could be a backend applications where your model is running behind, and then you will have another dashboard, an external dashboard that you will connect your model to. Finally, we need to do some UAT, user acceptance tests, right? You need to validate this model with your customers and get their feedback, right? To see whether the model's prediction is making any sense in the business context. So this is where we get the feedback from our customers, internal customers or external customers. And also this is the point where we are almost 90% done with the project before we really hand the project off from our hands. So all this workflow requires the collaboration from different team members. It's not just the work of a data scientist, but it's a work of a data scientist, of a bunch of data scientists, a bunch of data engineers, solution architects, or data analysts, business intelligence, product managers, and a lot of teams, right? So it's not a one-man show. At the end of the day, data scientist is just part of the role. of the whole data science project, of the whole data science life cycle, right? So to work with others effectively, to communicate with others effectively, this requires teamwork, communication skills, and also storytelling skills. All these are the soft skills that you will be learning along the way. So this is the end of my sharing today, and I hope you find it beneficial so far. And yep, this is the general introduction to data science, and I hope you are excited after the session today to help you get started throughout your 5-week bootcamp down the road. And feel free to ask me any questions, be it here or in Slack. I will try my best to answer all of them. And yep, wish you all the best throughout your data science journey. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Admond. So now comes the tougher part. Actually, we'll have a lot of questions from people. We already have a bunch of questions on YouTube Live, and also we have some questions on Google Responses sheet as well. So first question is, yes, first of all, thanks a lot for the very inspiring. Your journey itself is very inspiring from CERN. CERN is one of the biggest nuclear research center in Europe, right? And they do a bunch of crazy things in terms of scientific research. And yes, definitely when you have done such things, and also you have transitioned to a data scientist, right? And I'm sure there must be some struggling story behind that. What was the struggle that you had to undergo in the entire transition process? I'm sure it wouldn't be easy, right? Because there is a lot of persistence, there is a lot of hard work and zeal that goes into it. So we would want to know more about that.
I think the main struggle when I started to transition from physics into data science was the career prospect. Because back then when I returned from CERN, it was already in my third year, almost final year, my year 4 in my university days. Either I look for a job in physics space or continue my study in physics space, or I self-learn data science and find a job in a few months' time. So this is I think this is the biggest struggle that I encountered when I decided whether I wanted to go into this field. But finally, I make a bet.
Okay.
I make a bet. I said to myself, I just wanted to try this out. This is very exciting. Really,
Okay.
Gets me motivated.
Yeah. So was there a phase where there were no opportunities for you, and you were waiting for the opportunity? Was there any phase where you were low on energy and all, or it was not the case with you?
Definitely low energy sometimes, right? I don't get motivated 24 hours, but sometimes when I do feel low, I do reach out to some social media people in data science space to get inspiration from them.
Right.
You need to ask them some questions on what exactly that you are doing that help you to achieve who you are today. So these are something that I get some motivation from them to help me get my feedback on.
Yeah, I'm sure mentors and guides would help a great deal in the entire process. Yeah. And coming to next question, how frequently do you work on unfamiliar domain problems, and what is the approach you employ to understand the business problem and associated data to come up with features that will help in creating a model? Okay.
And, that is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
I think to me, to be very honest, I'm quite weak in the business domain knowledge, which I'm still improving on. Of course, none of us are perfect in any aspect, right? So to me, my weakness is more on the domain knowledge part, which I'm always trying to improve on, either by asking my colleagues, my team members who are experienced in this space to understand more about the terms, the terminology, the language that they're using in the business, right? And then I'll look into the data and to see whether it makes sense. And also to learn along the way by just asking questions. Like to me, to understand domain knowledge in different industries, asking questions, the right questions, to me is one of the most helpful ways to get me started. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we also have Gunika with us, she's trying to moderate the questions on YouTube Live. Maybe Gunika, can you unmute yourself and help us with some questions? Hello. Yeah, maybe she's not online, but probably what I can do is I can ask you another question that we already have. So what is the difference between data science and data analytics? So this is one question that was asked by one of the users.
Oh, okay, I think this is also one of the common questions out there in the space, right? What's the difference between data science and data analytics, or what's the difference between data science and data engineering? So to me, answer your questions is that data analytics is kind of similar to business intelligence, if you were to ask me. So in a way, it is more driven towards the business domain knowledge part, whereby it's less about building machine learning models, building sophisticated models, but it's more towards getting the data that you have right now to answer some of the simple questions, some of the low-hanging fruits out there. Like if I'm launching, let's say Facebook, maybe some of the common questions that a data analyst needs to answer is how many active users do I have today, right? And what is the increase of my users compared to last week? So these are some of the things that data analyst has to do in general and for the visualization parts. But for data scientists, I think the main difference is the model building part, because data analysts don't really focus on the model building part, but data scientists, they are more into R&D to understand the problems and to frame the problem into a machine learning or deep learning solvable problem, right? To answer the tough questions out there, like to predict the future down the road, what exactly will happen, forecasting, all this stuff.
Right, and there is a lot of collaboration involved with various teams as well. Like, you need to have that domain expertise and all. I mean, if you don't have, you need to gain that. So that's a good part of it. And what is the impact that a data scientist can bring to the society and the world, and how? So this is a question. This is again a generic question, but again, like, this is something that we have. Actually, like, we have 100+ questions on Google
so many
responses.
questions. Okay.
So we can't take all the questions, so we are taking a few of them. Yeah.
Got it. I think the question is broad enough and also important enough to answer here, because I believe that we are really going towards what I call a data economy, where data is a new goal, right? All of us have heard of this. Data is a new currency. So to me, data science, in terms of the impact, I believe a lot of industries are slowly picking up data science applications be it in their own company or in the country itself, because more and more people realize the importance of how data science can solve or automate some of their traditional business processes, right? For example, in the manufacturing industry, back in the past, we depend on a lot of manual work, but with the approach or with the application of data science, a lot of things can be actually automated, and we can save a lot of costs while being able to improve ROI to a few times more compared to the rest, right? And this is just part of the impact out there. But to me, the impact is really endless. It depends on what you are solving. Could be marketing space. Maybe you want to improve your ROI from different channels, right? Through attribution model. And this is part of data science application as well.
Right, got it. And I think Gunika, probably you can chip in now and ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Admond, for the very insightful session. We really enjoyed it. Now, a very popular question that we have is how to approach the world market for job in data science or machine learning.
Wow. Okay. In other words, let me summarize: how to get a job in data science, right?
Yeah.
Is that a question?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think learning data science is one thing. Getting a job in data science is another thing, right? I believe a lot of us struggling more on the second part. We all can learn data science, but not all of us can land a job in data science. And now the question is why, right? And I think to me, having a relevant experience is a bonus. But if you are not from the computer science background, I would suggest that you start building your portfolio, like from today, from this session onwards. Start building your portfolio either by joining internship or doing some your personal project. If you don't get any internship, it's fine, but just do your personal project. What exactly the problem that you are seeing that you want to solve? Just get the data from Kaggle, just get data from internet, scrap data, web scraping, all this stuff. The data is out there. You just need to get it, analyze it, and share it with the rest to build your portfolio experience. Because you can't learn everything at once, but you can only learn when you start doing, right? Just that you have faced some challenges, and this is when you need to learn something else. So this is the first part, building your portfolio. And the second part is really to build your soft skills. And to me, what I've realized so far in the job market right now, a lot of aspiring data scientists, they tend to focus more on the technical skills. Well, I understand that these are very important skills, technical skills like SQL, Python, machine learning models, great. These are great. But essentially, we have to work together with a team, with different stakeholders. And this is where the soft skills come into play. And that's why I emphasize a lot on the communication skills, writing skills, and storytelling skills. We have to be really good at delivering the message, the stories to other people. What exactly are we answering now? And how can we work together hand in hand effectively with other people, right? So to me, having a portfolio, soft skills, technical skills, and lastly is your personal brand. You need to build your personal brand.
Okay.
You need to differentiate yourself among other candidates. You can't just submit a resume. You need to build your personal brand. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think personal branding is really important in the entire space. And just to I have one more quick question around this. So this is again asked by one of the users from Zoom. So another question as a beginner is, how does one communicate with network of people who are already data scientists, apart from awkwardly messaging them on FB or LinkedIn? How do you communicate? So this is probably do you have any other means, or you just connect to people on LinkedIn?
So your question is, how can I approach people in data science space who I still don't know yet? Is that your question? How can I approach someone who how can I approach a data scientist who I don't know yet, right?
Yes, without making it awkward on FB or LinkedIn.
I see. Yeah. I think messaging on LinkedIn to strangers is a whole topic to talk about. But in summary, is that the best way to me, this works for me, is that you need to let people know you first before you approach them. And how to let people know you is by putting out content on social media, right? The more you put out the content on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever social media, more and more people will start noticing you, your presence. They start seeing you out there, putting out content, sharing content, helping others. That's great. And so your credibility is there. You are slowly building your trust, the relationship, the credibility. And once you approach them, people, chances are, they have already known who you are, what you have been doing, and the connection is already there. So this is the first thing. But what if when you approach someone that's the guy or girl doesn't know you yet, right? It's a total stranger. So to me, usually how I approach is by sending, I'm talking about LinkedIn, by sending a very short message. Don't send a long message, short, sweet, and simple message. Who are you? What are you looking for? And what exactly are you, looking for by connecting with the guy or girl out there?
Yeah.
A lot of things a lot of times I heard a lot of people, or seen a lot of people, they share, they connected with me. They also share some messages with me, but sometimes the message tend to be a bit too long, right? And it's too long until it's too hard to read throughout the whole passage. So I think to keep it simple, straight to the point, what exactly are you looking for? How can we collaborate, right? And how can we work together? What you are doing? Just keep the conversation going, and slowly the relationship will be built.
Yeah, Gunika, please go ahead. Yeah.
Another question is about if online certificates are actually useful in this field, and do they increase the chances of being hired, or should one person go for masters or learn through online certificates?
Great. I think this is so one of the questions that I've been asking myself, whether I should pursue a master instead. But rather, I decided to take the alternative way. To me, taking a master degree is not a must. It's entirely optional, unless you want to, get to the very fundamentals, the mathematical knowledge behind the model. Yes, then you can go to the master, right, or PhD. But if you're not into a very sophisticated, the latest cutting edge models, curriculum out there, right? I think we can always learn from online courses. We can always learn from YouTube, Google, all this stuff, and learn from different platforms, right? Udemy, Coursera, Fast.ai, all these are different platforms, great platforms to learn from. And to also answer your questions, whether having an online cert is important, to me, it's not important. It's important to get you started as a data scientist, but it's not important for you to show to employers that you got this cert. All right, it's a good to have to post your online certificate on your LinkedIn or your platform, but never ever show your online certificates in your resume, because just to be very brutally honest, nobody really cares. They care about your portfolio. They don't care about your online certificates. It doesn't mean anything to them. But what exactly can you bring to the table, right? What are the portfolio? What are the projects that you have done in the past that make your prospective employees interested in you? So this is the core thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. Also, is Python more useful in this domain or R?
Wow, this is a very sensitive and topic to talk about. I think personally, I'm more biased towards Python because I've been using it since then. But of course, I did learn R sometimes back for a few months. But then I continue with my Python journey because I think that for Python, it's more popular and also is supported by the large community out there. And also in terms of the libraries, the open libraries, packages, machine learning models libraries, Python has more options to choose from, and it's easier to tune, to learn, and all these things. So that's why I decided to go with Python. But of course, anyone can go with R instead. And R, I think, is a very good tool for statistical calculation and visualization. But when it comes to a large scale deployment, right, we don't really can scale it using R. But for Python, you have PySpark, right? You can do it in Scala, all the way things. But in terms of large scale deployment, R is quite hard to do. Yeah.
Cool. Let's take one last question.
Yeah.
So, someone asked how to find the problems to solve in data science. I know the basics, but how to get started with finding the problems?
You are saying for the personal project, right? How to find a problem. Yeah. I think the easiest way is that just go to Kaggle. There's so many open data sets on Kaggle, and there's so many problems out there on Kaggle for you to solve. So by doing this, you don't need to worry about getting clean data, getting data in place, finding your problem. This is the easiest path. But I would recommend you to take the hardest way, which not many people are doing. And I highly recommend you to do this way instead of getting to Kaggle. Kaggle is a way to help you get started. Once you get familiar with Kaggle's data set, you can model, do some EDA. The second thing that you need to do to really differentiate yourself from other candidates out in the job market is to get data from scratch. Now, what do I mean by that? Do web scraping, get some data from Twitter, right? Build your own web scraper to get data from Quora, right? From any other internet platforms out there, get the data in, and data should look very dirty and messy to you. And this is where you need to figure out how to clean it, right? So the first thing is get the data yourself. And how to get the data? Just by web scraping. But to really find a problem, I think just observe around you. What are the common problems that you are seeing now? For example, I think one of the famous problems now is to build a machine learning models to predict the COVID-19, all this stuff. This is the one problem, right? But the second problem that you could possibly think of could be the poverty. Like some of the common global issue that we are facing now, poverty, global warming, or maybe some of the domestic issues that you are seeing in your space. I don't know what it is, but you have to observe around you to see what are the problems that you are facing that can be solved using data. And this is when you start getting the data in. Yeah.
Right. Great. Yeah. I think we have plenty of other questions too, but probably we will pause here and end the day. And thanks a lot, Admond, for your time and making time for our learners and all. And also I would like to thank all the learners for being here and actively listening the entire conversation. And it's really exciting. At the same time, we are very pleased to see their excitement and enthusiasm on the Slack group as well. So we are really looking forward to the next 5 weeks. And and also one quick note to all the learners. So probably if you're hearing a lot of new keywords for the very first time, please don't be worried. I mean, if Admond is talking about data cleaning or modeling or a bunch of other things, deployment and all, of course, we may not be talking about deployment in the next 5 weeks, but we would definitely be taking you through the entire data science life cycle, at least till the modeling part that will be covered. So you don't need to worry about it. And also, Thanks a lot, Admond, and we are eagerly looking forward for your next session. I think it would be around second or third week. So we'll we'll get back to you on that. And thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye.